Theodore Blackwell pressed through the crushing crowd of Christmas shoppers, his heart pounding so hard he could hear it over the holiday music. Sweat dripped down his temples despite the December cold. His hands shook as he spun in circles, scanning every small face in the massive shopping district. Hannah was gone. His 8-year-old daughter had been right beside him 30 seconds ago. Now she had vanished into the sea of people carrying bags and packages, all laughing and celebrating while his world collapsed. He called her name until his throat burned, but his voice disappeared into the noise. Theodore stumbled away from the main shopping area, following smaller streets, checking every corner. His expensive suit jacket hung open, his tie loose around his neck. People stared at the disheveled billionaire, but he didn't care. Nothing mattered except finding Hannah. The neighborhoods changed as he walked. The bright storefronts became smaller shops. The crowds thinned. Theodore found himself in an area he'd never been before, where the buildings needed paint and the sidewalks had cracks. His panic made everything feel surreal, like he was moving through a nightmare. He stopped outside a small corner store with faded signs advertising basic groceries. Through the window he saw something that made him pause even in his frantic state. A beautiful African-American woman in a bright red winter coat stood at the checkout counter. She had warm brown skin and kind eyes, her hair pulled back in a neat bun. She looked tired, like someone who worked too many hours. Next to her stood a little girl around 7 years old, wearing a green jacket that was slightly too big, looking up at her mother with absolute trust and love. Theodore watched as the woman counted coins from her purse. She had placed several items on the counter: a small toy doll still in its box, wrapping paper, a bag of rice, and 2 cans of soup. The cashier told her the total. The woman's face fell. She didn't have enough. What happened next stopped Theodore's racing thoughts completely. The woman looked at her daughter, then back at the items. Without hesitation, she picked up the rice and both cans of soup and handed them back to the cashier. She kept only the doll and wrapping paper. "Just these, please," she said softly. The little girl tugged her mother's coat. "Mama, but what about dinner?" The woman smiled, and it was the most genuine smile Theodore had ever seen. "We have dinner at home, baby. Don't you worry. You're going to have the best Christmas morning." "Are you sure?" "I'm very sure. You're my whole world, Sophie. I want you to have something special under our tree." Theodore stood frozen on the sidewalk. This woman had just chosen her daughter's Christmas joy over her own meals. She was giving up food so her child could have one gift. The sacrifice was so pure, so complete, that it shook something deep inside him. He had wealth beyond measure. He could buy anything, everything. But standing there watching this mother's love, he felt small. When had he last sacrificed something real for Hannah? When had he last put her joy above his own comfort? The realization cut through his panic, mixing with it, creating a strange clarity. He needed to find Hannah, but he also knew he had just witnessed something important, something that was going to change him. The woman and her daughter walked out of the store. The little girl held the wrapped gift carefully, smiling. The mother put her arm around her daughter's shoulders, pulling her close against the cold. Theodore stepped forward, his voice rough. "Excuse me. I'm sorry to bother you, but I need help." The woman turned, her eyes immediately concerned when she saw his state. The disheveled suit, the panic on his face, the desperate energy radiating from him. "What's wrong?" she asked immediately, not afraid, just ready to help. "My daughter?" Theodore's voice cracked. "She's 8 years old. I lost her in the crowds. I've been searching, but I don't know this area. Please, I don't know what to do." The woman didn't hesitate for even a second. "I'll help you look. Sophie, baby, hold my hand tight." "But don't you have somewhere to be?" Theodore asked. "Nothing is more important than finding your little girl," she said firmly. "Nothing. I'm Rochelle Johnson. Let's find her together." Have you ever witnessed a moment of pure selfless love that changed how you see the world? What would you do if you saw someone choosing their child's happiness over their own needs? Share your thoughts in the comments below, and please subscribe to hear more stories about the power of kindness and hope in our world. Theodore Blackwell had woken up that morning in his penthouse apartment with a clear plan. Christmas was 3 days away and he needed to buy Hannah the perfect gifts. His late wife Caroline had always handled the holidays, making everything magical. Since her death 2 years ago, Theodore had struggled to fill that void. This year would be different. This year he would make Christmas special himself. The shopping district had seemed like a good idea. All the best stores in one area, decorated beautifully, full of holiday spirit. He and Hannah had started at the toy store, where she'd pointed out a dozen things she liked. Theodore made mental notes of everything. Then they moved to the clothing stores. Hannah wanted to look at the window displays, pressing her nose against the glass. Theodore stood behind her, one hand on her shoulder, checking his phone with the other. An email from his company's board needed attention. He typed a quick response. When he looked up, Hannah was gone. That had been 40 minutes ago. The longest 40 minutes of Theodore's life. Now he stood with Rochelle and Sophie, trying to focus through his panic. Rochelle's calm presence helped. She asked clear questions. What was Hannah wearing? What color was her hair? Did she have a phone? Blue dress, Theodore managed. Long blonde hair. No phone. I told her she was too young. Okay, Rochelle said. Let's think like an 8-year-old. If she got separated, where would she go? I don't know. We're not from this neighborhood. Rochelle looked around, thinking. The community center is 2 blocks that way. It's warm, it's safe, and there are usually people there. If someone found her, they might take her there. Why would they do that? Because that's what people do here, Rochelle said simply. We look out for each other. They walked quickly through the streets. Sophie held her mother's hand, her small legs working hard to keep up. Theodore noticed how carefully Rochelle watched her daughter, never letting her stray. The contrast to his own distraction earlier made him feel sick with guilt. How do you do it? Theodore asked as they walked. Do what? Stay so calm. If Sophie was missing, you'd be terrified. Rochelle glanced at him, understanding in her eyes. I would be. But falling apart doesn't help find her. You save the fear for after, when she's safe. Right now, we focus on bringing her home. The wisdom in her words steadied him. This woman, who had just given up her own food for her daughter's Christmas, was now giving her time and energy to a complete stranger. Theodore had met thousands of people in his business life. None had impressed him like Rochelle did in these few minutes. Why are you helping me? He asked. You don't know me. Your daughter is missing. That's all I need to know. Any parent would help. Not in my experience. Rochelle looked at him with those kind, tired eyes. Then you've been around the wrong people. They reached the community center, a modest building with peeling paint but bright windows showing warm light inside. Christmas decorations covered every surface, handmade from paper and ribbon. Through the windows, Theodore could see people setting up tables. Rochelle opened the door and warm air rushed out. An older man in a bright blue sweater looked up from arranging chairs. Rochelle, he smiled. Didn't expect to see you until tonight. Hi, Mr. Peterson. We're looking for a lost little girl. 8 years old, blonde hair, blue dress. Mr. Peterson's face changed immediately. Follow me. He led them through a hallway decorated with children's artwork. Theodore's heart raced. His hands were shaking again. Sophie squeezed her mother's hand and whispered, Is she here, Mama? Let's hope so, baby. Mr. Peterson pushed open a door to a large room full of donated toys and books. In the corner, sitting on a cushion and reading a picture book to 2 younger children, was Hannah. Hannah? Theodore breathed. She looked up and her face transformed. Daddy? Theodore crossed the room in 3 steps and pulled his daughter into his arms, holding her so tight she squeaked. Relief flooded through him so intensely that his knees felt weak. She was safe. She was here. Nothing else mattered. I'm so sorry, Hannah said, her voice muffled against his shirt. I saw these little kids who were lost and crying, and I remembered you said we should help people, so I followed them here. But then I didn't know how to find you again. Theodore pulled back to look at her face. You were helping other children? They were scared. I stayed with them until someone found their mom. But then I was stuck here. Her eyes filled with tears. I'm sorry, Daddy. I didn't mean to scare you. It's okay, Theodore said, his own voice thick. You're safe. That's all that matters. He looked up to find Rochelle watching with a soft smile. Sophie stood next to her mother, looking relieved. Mr. Peterson had quietly left to give them privacy. Theodore stood, keeping Hannah's hand firmly in his. Thank you. I can't express how grateful I am. I'm just glad she's safe, Rochelle said. Please let me repay you somehow. Dinner? Or I could give you money for your time. Rochelle's expression shifted slightly. I didn't help you for money. I helped because a child needed finding. Theodore realized his mistake immediately. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to offend you. I just want to show my gratitude properly. Rochelle's face softened. You don't need to show gratitude. But if you want to thank me, just get your daughter home safe. That's enough. Hannah tugged Theodore's hand. Daddy, can Sophie and her mom come with us? At least until we get back to the nice part? It's getting dark. Theodore looked at Rochelle. Would that be okay? I have a car service. We can drop you wherever you need to go. Rochelle hesitated. Theodore could see her pride fighting with practicality. The sun was setting and she had Sophie with her. "I have to work tonight," Rochelle said. "I need to get Sophie home and make dinner first. Then let us take you home. Please. It's the least I can do, and I'd feel better knowing you both got there safely." Sophie looked up at her mother hopefully. The walk home was long, especially in the cold. Rochelle made her decision. "Okay. Thank you. That would be helpful." As they walked outside together, Theodore called his driver. The black car arrived within minutes. Sophie's eyes went wide at the fancy vehicle. Hannah climbed in first, then Sophie, then Rochelle. Theodore sat across from them. Rochelle gave the driver her address. As they drove through the city, the neighborhoods changed again, from the community center area to an even more modest section with older apartment buildings. Theodore watched Rochelle as she pointed out landmarks to Sophie, keeping her daughter entertained. The little girl was bright and cheerful despite their obvious poverty. Her green jacket had patches sewn carefully on the elbows. Her shoes were worn but clean. Everything about her spoke of a mother who worked hard to provide what she could. "How old is Sophie?" Theodore asked. 7, Rochelle said. "Her birthday was last month." "I'm 8, Hannah added. "My birthday was in September." "You're the same age as my favorite people," Rochelle smiled. The car stopped in front of a 4-story brick building. The structure was old but maintained, with someone clearly trying to keep it nice despite limited resources. Christmas lights hung in some windows, twinkling against the evening darkness. "This is us," Rochelle said. "Thank you again," Theodore said. "Truly. You didn't have to help us, but you did. That means more than you know." Rochelle met his eyes. "I hope you and Hannah have a wonderful Christmas." Sophie waved shyly at Hannah as they climbed out. Theodore and Hannah waved back. As the car pulled away, Theodore watched through the rear window as Rochelle and Sophie walked up the steps to their building, the mother's arm around her daughter's shoulders. Hannah leaned against her father's side. "She was really nice, Daddy?" "Yes," Theodore agreed quietly. "She really was." But his mind was still on that scene in the store. The way Rochelle had chosen her daughter's joy over her own needs without a second thought. The pure love in that decision. He had wealth that could buy anything. But he'd just met someone who had something far more valuable. And somehow he couldn't stop thinking about her. Theodore couldn't sleep that night. Every time he closed his eyes, he saw Rochelle counting those coins, making that impossible choice between food and her daughter's Christmas happiness. He saw the worn patches on Sophie's jacket and the careful way Rochelle had made sure her daughter didn't feel their poverty. He kept thinking about the woman's immediate willingness to help a stranger find his lost child. No hesitation. No questions about what was in it for her. Just pure kindness. At 6 in the morning, Theodore gave up on sleep. He went to his home office and looked up the address Rochelle had given the driver. Online maps showed him the building in daylight. It was in a neighborhood called Riverside, one of the city's lower-income areas. The apartment buildings there were old but had a tight-knit community feel. Hannah came into his office around 8, still in her pajamas. "Morning, Daddy." "Morning, sweetheart." Theodore closed his laptop. "Did you sleep okay?" "Yeah. But I kept thinking about Sophie and her mom." "Me too." Hannah climbed into the chair next to his desk. Her jacket had patches. And her shoes were too small. "I think they don't have much money." Theodore looked at his daughter, impressed by her observation. "No, I don't think they do. That makes me sad. Sophie seems really nice. And her mom helped us so much." "What do you think we should do about that?" Hannah thought seriously. "We should help them. Like they helped us." "I tried to offer money, but I don't think that felt right to Rochelle." "Because she didn't help us for money," Hannah said with the simple clarity of childhood. "She helped because it was the right thing to do. So we should help because it's the right thing to do too." Theodore smiled at his daughter. "When did you get so wise?" "I learned it from you and Mama. You always said we should help people who need it." Caroline had indeed taught them both about charity and kindness. But Theodore realized his version of helping usually involved writing checks to organizations, keeping a comfortable distance from the actual people in need. "You're right," Theodore said. "We should help them. But we need to do it in a way that feels good to Rochelle, not like we're pitying her or trying to buy something. What if we just visited? And brought Sophie a Christmas present as a thank you?" Theodore considered this. A gift for Sophie made sense. A thank you gesture. But he found himself wanting to do more. Wanting to understand Rochelle's life better. Wanting to see that smile again. That last thought surprised him. He hadn't been interested in anyone since Caroline died. Grief and work had consumed him completely. But something about Rochelle had awakened something he'd thought was gone forever. Let's go today, Theodore decided. We'll bring a gift for Sophie and see how we can help. They spent the morning shopping. Hannah picked out a beautiful bicycle for Sophie, bright pink with streamers on the handles. Every kid should have a bike, Hannah insisted. Theodore agreed. They also bought groceries. Good healthy food. Enough to last weeks. Theodore added warm winter coats, one in bright purple for Sophie and one in deep red for Rochelle. Scarves, gloves, everything practical but nice. By noon, Theodore's car was packed with bags. Hannah sat in the back, excited and nervous. What if they're not home? Hannah asked as they drove toward Riverside. Then we'll come back another time. They parked outside Rochelle's building. Theodore carried the bags while Hannah wheeled the bicycle. Other residents watched curiously as the clearly wealthy man and his daughter entered the building. Rochelle's apartment was on the 3rd floor. Theodore knocked, suddenly nervous himself. What if Rochelle thought he was overstepping? What if this was too much? The door opened. Rochelle stood there in jeans and a bright yellow sweater, her hair loose around her shoulders. She looked beautiful and surprised. Theodore? Hannah? Hi, Theodore said, feeling awkward with his arms full of bags. We wanted to thank you properly for yesterday. And we brought something for Sophie. Sophie appeared behind her mother, eyes going wide when she saw the bicycle. Is that for me? Hannah grinned. Yes. Do you like it? I love it, Sophie breathed, but she looked at her mother uncertainly. Rochelle's expression was complicated. Theodore could see her wrestling with pride and practicality, with want and worry. This is too much, Rochelle said quietly. It's a thank you, Theodore said. You helped us when we needed it. Please let us help you now. We're not a charity case. I know that. This isn't charity. This is gratitude. There's a difference. Rochelle looked at her daughter's face, at the hope and longing there. Theodore could see the exact moment she made her decision. Sophie really has wanted a bike, Rochelle said softly. She asks every birthday and Christmas. I've been saving but. Then let her have this one, Theodore said gently. Please. It would make Hannah and me very happy. Rochelle took a deep breath, and when she spoke again, her voice was warm with genuine emotion. Thank you. Really. This is very kind of you both. Sophie squealed and hugged her mother, then ran to inspect the bicycle. Hannah joined her, showing her how the bell worked. The two girls were instant friends again. Can I bring these inside? Theodore gestured to the bags. Rochelle nodded, stepping aside. Her apartment was small but immaculately clean. The furniture was old but cared for. Christmas decorations hung everywhere, all handmade with obvious love. A small tree stood in the corner, its branches bare except for a few paper ornaments. Theodore set the bags on the kitchen counter. We brought some groceries. And a few warm things. Winter coats get expensive. Rochelle looked through the bags, her eyes getting bright. This is a lot. Is it okay? She met his eyes. It's more than okay. I was worried about this week. My hours got cut at my daytime job and the bills. She stopped, clearly not wanting to overshare. This helps. A lot. Thank you. Her gratitude was so genuine, so graceful, that Theodore felt something shift in his chest. This woman had every reason to be bitter about her situation, but instead she radiated warmth and strength. Can I ask what you do? Theodore said. For work. I'm a caregiver during the day usually. I take care of an elderly man named Mr. Harvey. He's in his 90s, needs help with daily tasks. And at night, I clean offices downtown. That's 2 jobs. It's what we need to do. Sophie deserves a good life. I'll work whatever hours it takes. Theodore thought about his own single job, his massive income from doing what he loved. The unfairness struck him hard. What about Sophie when you're working? She stays with my neighbor Mrs. Chen during my night shift. She's wonderful. During the day, Sophie's at school, and I bring her with me to Mr. Harvey's sometimes. He loves having her there. Says she brightens his whole day. Sophie and Hannah ran back into the apartment, both talking excitedly about riding bikes in the spring. Mama, can I keep it? Sophie asked, needing confirmation. Yes, baby. What do you say? Sophie turned to Theodore and Hannah with a huge smile. Thank you so much. This is the best present ever. Hannah beamed. Maybe we can ride bikes together sometime. I'd love that, Sophie said shyly. Rochelle invited them to sit. She made hot chocolate for the girls and coffee for herself and Theodore. As they sat in her modest living room, Theodore felt more relaxed than he had in years. There was something about this space, despite its poverty, that felt like home. He learned more about Rochelle's life as they talked. She'd been a single mother since Sophie was 2, when Sophie's father left them with nothing. She'd worked her way up from minimum wage jobs to her current positions. Every penny went to Sophie's needs. She had no family in the city to help her. "You're alone here?" Theodore asked. "Just Sophie and me. But we have good neighbors. People look out for each other in Riverside." "That's what you said yesterday. That people here help each other." "They do. When you don't have much money, you have to be rich in other ways. Rich in kindness. Rich in community. Those things matter more anyway." Theodore felt humbled. In his wealthy circles, people competed constantly. Who had more? Who achieved more? Who could show off more? Actual kindness was rare. "I've spent my whole life thinking money was the answer to everything," Theodore admitted. "But you're showing me something different." "Money helps," Rochelle said honestly. "I'm not going to pretend it doesn't. Bills are bills. But it's not everything. Sophie and I are happy. We have each other. We have love. That's the real treasure." Hannah and Sophie had settled on the floor with paper and crayons, drawing together. Theodore watched them, then looked at Rochelle. She was watching the girls too, her expression soft with love. "Your daughter is lucky to have you," Theodore said quietly. "I'm lucky to have her. She's my whole world." "I can see that. The way you are with her, it's beautiful." Rochelle met his eyes and something passed between them. An understanding. A connection. Theodore felt it like a physical thing, warm and real. "Thank you for coming today," Rochelle said. "And for the gifts. You didn't have to do any of this." "I wanted to. Anna was right. You helped us when we needed it. This is just returning the kindness." "Well, it means a lot. More than you know." Theodore's phone buzzed. A text from his assistant about a meeting he'd forgotten. Reality intruding on this peaceful moment. "I should let you get on with your day," Theodore said reluctantly. "And I need to get to work soon. Mr. Harvey will be waiting." They stood. Theodore felt oddly reluctant to leave. This small apartment, this woman and her daughter, had given him something he hadn't felt in years. Peace, purpose, connection. "Can we visit again?" Anna asked hopefully. "Sophie and I want to draw more." Rochelle looked at Theodore, uncertain. He nodded. "We'd like that. If it's okay with you." "It's okay," Rochelle said with a smile that made Theodore's heart do something strange. "You're both welcome anytime." As they left, Hannah chattering about her new friend, Theodore looked back once. Rochelle stood in her doorway watching them go, her hand raised in a small wave. He waved back, already planning when they could return. Over the next 2 days, Theodore and Hannah visited Rochelle and Sophie 3 more times. Each visit felt more natural, more comfortable. The 2 little girls became inseparable when together, drawing, playing games, and making plans for when spring came and they could ride bikes. Theodore found himself watching Rochelle more than was probably appropriate. The way she moved through her small apartment with grace and efficiency. The way she listened to Sophie with complete attention. The way she smiled when she thought no one was looking. On the second visit, Theodore noticed the apartment was cold. When he mentioned it, Rochelle admitted the heater was broken. "How long has it been broken?" Theodore asked. 2 weeks. "The landlord says he'll fix it when he can afford the parts." "That's not acceptable. It's December. Sophie could get sick." Rochelle shrugged, trying to make light of it. "We have blankets. We're okay." But Theodore saw Sophie wearing 2 sweaters and still shivering slightly. That evening he called a heating repair service and sent them to Rochelle's building. When the repairman arrived the next morning, Rochelle called Theodore, her voice mixed with gratitude and mild exasperation. "You sent a repairman?" "The heater needed fixing." "Theodore." I know. But Sophie was cold. I couldn't stand that. Please let me help." There was a pause, then Rochelle's voice came back warmer. "Thank you. Really. Sophie will be much more comfortable now." "Good. That's all I wanted." On Christmas Eve, Theodore and Hannah arrived at Rochelle's apartment with their arms full again. This time, presents wrapped in bright paper. Clothes for both Rochelle and Sophie. Books, toys, practical things mixed with fun things. Rochelle's eyes got bright when she saw it all. "This is too much." "It's Christmas," Theodore said simply. "Please. Let us share our Christmas with you." Sophie jumped up and down with excitement. Hannah grinned. Rochelle looked at Theodore with something deep in her eyes. "You've done so much for us already," Rochelle said softly. "The heater, the groceries, the bike. And now this." "You gave me something invaluable," Theodore replied. "You found my daughter." You showed me what real kindness looks like. Let me give something back. Rochelle stepped forward and hugged him. It was quick, spontaneous, and it made Theodore's whole body aware of her warmth, her presence. When she pulled back, both of them looked slightly flustered. Thank you, Rochelle said. Truly. You and Hannah have made this Christmas possible for Sophie. I was worried it would be sparse this year, but now. She gestured at the gifts. Now it's going to be magical. They spent the evening together, all four of them. Rochelle made dinner with the groceries Theodore had brought, and it was the best meal he'd had in months. Not because of fancy ingredients, but because of the company, the laughter, the warmth of sharing food with people who cared. After dinner, they decorated Rochelle's tree together. Theodore had brought ornaments and lights. The girls hung them carefully while the adults directed and adjusted. When they plugged in the lights, the whole apartment glowed warm and festive. It's beautiful, Sophie whispered, her eyes reflecting the colored lights. Best tree ever, Hannah agreed. Theodore looked around the small apartment, now warm from the fixed heater, bright with Christmas decorations, filled with laughter and friendship. This felt more like home than his penthouse ever had. He caught Rochelle watching him and their eyes held. Something was happening between them, something neither had planned but both could feel. It scared Theodore and thrilled him in equal measure. Later, after they'd put the girls to bed in Sophie's room so they could have a sleepover, Theodore and Rochelle sat on her old couch, drinking coffee and talking quietly. I never expected this, Rochelle said. When I helped you find Hannah, I thought that would be it. A one-time thing. But now you're in our lives and it feels... right? Theodore finished. Yeah, right. But also confusing. Why confusing? Rochelle gestured around them. Look at this place. Look at my life. Then look at yours. We're from completely different worlds. Maybe that's exactly why it works, Theodore said. You've shown me things about life I'd forgotten. About what really matters. About kindness and sacrifice and love. Those are just normal things. Not in my world. In my world, people compete. They take. They judge. You give. You care. You love without conditions. That's not normal where I come from. That's exceptional. Rochelle looked down at her coffee. I'm just doing my best for my daughter. And that's what makes you beautiful. The word hung in the air between them. Rochelle looked up, her eyes wide. Theodore hadn't meant to say it out loud, but he didn't regret it. I should probably go, Theodore said, not moving. Probably, Rochelle agreed, also not moving. They sat there, the Christmas tree lights casting colors across their faces, the apartment warm and quiet except for the soft sound of the girls breathing from the bedroom. I want to keep seeing you, Theodore said finally. Not just visits. I want more. If that's something you might want too. Rochelle was quiet for a long moment. I'm scared. Of what? Of this not being real. Of you realizing that my life is too complicated, too poor, too difficult. Of Sophie getting attached and then losing another father figure. Of getting my heart broken. Theodore set down his coffee and took her hand. Her fingers were small in his, warm and real. I'm scared too, he admitted. I haven't felt this way since Caroline died. I didn't think I could feel this way again. But when I'm with you, everything makes sense. The world feels right. We barely know each other. Then let's change that. Let's spend time together. Let's learn about each other. No pressure. Just honesty. Rochelle squeezed his hand. I'd like that. They sat holding hands, watching the tree lights blink, until Theodore finally had to leave. At the door he turned back. Merry Christmas, Rochelle. Merry Christmas, Theodore. He wanted to kiss her. The urge was strong and sudden. But instead, he squeezed her hand one more time and left, already counting the hours until he could see her again. Christmas morning, Theodore and Hannah opened presents in their penthouse. Hannah loved everything, but Theodore noticed she kept checking her phone, waiting for a text from Sophie. Around noon, Theodore's phone rang. It was Rochelle. Hi, she said, and he could hear the smile in her voice. Sophie wants to talk to Hannah about all her presents. And I was wondering if maybe you two would want to come over for dinner later? I'm making a roast. Nothing fancy, but... We'd love to, Theodore interrupted. What time? 6. Perfect. We'll bring dessert. You don't have to bring anything. I want to. There was a pause, then Rochelle said softly, I'm glad you called yesterday. I'm glad you came into our lives. Me too, Theodore said. More than you know. That evening they had Christmas dinner in Rochelle's small apartment. The roast was perfect. Sophie and Hannah told stories about school and friends. Rochelle and Theodore kept catching each other's eyes across the table, smiling. After dinner they played board games. Theodore couldn't remember the last time he'd laughed so much. Sophie's competitive spirit matched Hannah's perfectly. Rochelle made funny commentary on every move. The apartment rang with joy. When it was time to leave, Hannah hugged both Sophie and Rochelle. "This was the best Christmas ever," she declared. "It really was," Theodore agreed, his eyes on Rochelle. At the door, Theodore lingered. "Thank you for today. For letting us be part of your Christmas." "Thank you for making it special," Rochelle replied. "For everything." This time, Theodore gave in to the urge. He leaned down and kissed her cheek, soft and brief. When he pulled back, Rochelle's eyes were bright, her cheeks flushed. "Good night," Theodore whispered. "Good night," Rochelle whispered back. Driving home, Hannah said, "Daddy, do you like Rochelle?" Theodore glanced at his daughter in the rearview mirror. "Yes, I do. Is that okay? I like her too. And I really like Sophie. Can they be part of our family?" The question was so innocent, so hopeful, that Theodore's throat tightened. "Would you want that?" "Yes. I miss having a mom. And Sophie's never had a dad. Maybe we could all fit together." "Maybe we could," Theodore said quietly. "But that's a big thing. It would take time." "That's okay. The best things take time. That's what Mama used to say." Theodore smiled. Caroline would have liked Rochelle. She would have appreciated her strength, her kindness, her love for Sophie. That thought comforted him. "Let's just see what happens," Theodore said. "But I'm glad you like them both." "I love them both," Hannah corrected. And Theodore realized he might already love them too. The week between Christmas and New Year's became a blur of togetherness. Theodore found excuses to visit Riverside every day, dropping off groceries, bringing Hannah to play with Sophie, checking on the heater to make sure it stayed fixed. Each time he stayed longer, talking with Rochelle while the girls played, learning about her hopes and dreams, sharing his own fears and failures. Rochelle told him about growing up poor but loved, about her parents who died when she was 19, about Sophie's father who promised forever then left at the first sign of difficulty. She spoke without bitterness, just honest reflection on a hard life that she'd survived with grace. Theodore told her about building his company from a small startup to a billion-dollar enterprise, about the emptiness that success brought, about Caroline's death and the hollow years that followed. He admitted that he'd been going through motions, not really living, until he met Rochelle. "You saved my life," he told her one evening. They were sitting on her couch again, the girls asleep in Sophie's room after another late playdate. "I helped you find Hannah," Rochelle corrected. "No, you saved my life. You reminded me what living actually means. What love looks like. What matters." Rochelle leaned her head on his shoulder, a gesture that felt natural and right. "You saved mine too. I was drowning in bills and worry. Always afraid I couldn't give Sophie enough. You took that weight away. I'm glad I could help. You did more than help. You gave us hope." Theodore wrapped his arm around her shoulders, pulling her close. They sat like that for a long time, comfortable in the silence. On New Year's Eve, Theodore invited Rochelle and Sophie to his penthouse. Rochelle had been hesitant about seeing where he lived, worried about the vast difference in their lifestyles. But Sophie was excited and Theodore was persuasive. When they arrived, Sophie's eyes went huge. "This is where you live. It's too big, isn't it?" Theodore said, suddenly seeing his home through their eyes. The marble floors, the expensive art, the floor-to-ceiling windows showing the city spread out below. It all felt cold and empty. "It's like a palace," Sophie breathed. Hannah grabbed Sophie's hand. "Come on, I'll show you my room. I have a closet bigger than your apartment." She said it without thinking, then froze, realizing how that sounded. But Sophie just laughed. "That's crazy. Let's see it." The girls ran off. Rochelle stood in the entryway, looking around with an unreadable expression. "This is overwhelming," she admitted. "I know. It's too much. I bought it because I could, not because I needed it." "How many rooms?" "Honestly, I don't know exactly. 6 bedrooms? 7? I don't use most of them." Rochelle walked to the windows, looking out at the city lights. Theodore joined her. "I can see Riverside from here," she said quietly. "That cluster of lights to the east. That's my neighborhood. Does it bother you? The difference between our worlds?" "Yes and no. I'm not jealous of what you have. But I wonder what it means for us. How we fit together when our lives are so different." Theodore turned her to face him. "Our lives are different. But what we want is the same. Family. Love. Connection. Those things don't cost money." "No, but money makes life easier." "Then let me make your life easier. Let me help you and Sophie. Not as charity. Not as obligation. But because I care about you both. Rochelle looked up at him. I'm not good at accepting help. I've always had to do everything myself. I know. But you don't have to anymore. I'm here. I want to be here. Please let me. She studied his face, searching for something. Whatever she saw must have satisfied her because she nodded slowly. Okay. But I need you to understand something. I won't be dependent on you. I won't stop working. I won't let Sophie think money solves everything. I wouldn't want that either. And if this thing between us doesn't work out, I need to know Sophie and I will be okay. That we won't lose everything if we lose you. The words hurt, but Theodore understood them. I'll set up a trust. For Sophie's education, for security. Separate from us. Whether we work out or not, you'll both be taken care of. Rochelle's eyes filled with tears. Why would you do that? Because Sophie deserves every opportunity. Because you deserve to not live in constant fear. Because I can, so I should. That's too much. It's not enough. Let me do this, Rochelle. Please. With gratitude for what you've given me. Rochelle wiped her eyes. You're making it hard to keep my walls up. Good. I want those walls down. I want all of you. The strength, the fear, the pride, the love. All of it. She kissed him then, rising on her toes to reach his lips. It was their first real kiss and it felt like coming home. Theodore wrapped his arms around her, holding her close, feeling the rightness of it in his bones. When they pulled apart, both breathing hard, Rochelle said, "This is real, isn't it?" "Yes, this is real." They spent New Year's Eve together, all four of them. They ordered pizza, played games, and watched the city lights. At midnight, they toasted with sparkling cider. The girls cheered. Theodore kissed Rochelle softly. The year ended with hope and new beginnings. In January, Theodore kept his promise. He set up an educational trust for Sophie and established a secure fund for Rochelle. When he showed her the paperwork, she cried. "This is Sophie's entire future," she whispered, looking at the numbers. "She's brilliant. She deserves every chance to reach her potential. How can I ever thank you? Let me be part of your lives. That's all the thanks I need." Theodore also paid off Rochelle's debts, quietly and without fanfare. The overdue electric bill. The medical bills from when Sophie had the flu last year. The credit card she'd maxed buying Sophie school supplies. All gone. When Rochelle found out, she was angry at first. "You went behind my back. I wanted you to stop worrying. But those were my responsibilities. And now they're handled. Please don't be angry. I couldn't stand watching you carry that weight when I could lift it so easily." Rochelle's anger melted into tears. "No one has ever taken care of me like this. Get used to it. Because I'm not stopping." He also quietly spoke with her landlord about repairs needed throughout the building. The broken railings. The leaky roof. The cracked windows. Theodore offered to pay for everything if the landlord would hire contractors immediately. The landlord agreed enthusiastically. Within 2 weeks, Rochelle's entire building had been renovated. New paint, new fixtures, all repairs done. The residents were thrilled. Rochelle knew it was Theodore but didn't say anything. She just kissed him and whispered, "Thank you for caring about my neighbors too." Theodore met Mr. Harvey, the elderly man Rochelle cared for. The old man was sharp and funny, and he clearly adored both Rochelle and Sophie. "She's a gift," Mr. Harvey told Theodore. "Takes care of me like I'm her own father. Never complains. Always cheerful. You hold on to her, young man. Women like Rochelle are rare." "I know," Theodore said. "I'm lucky she tolerates me." "She more than tolerates you. I see how she lights up when you're mentioned. That woman is falling in love with you. Don't mess it up." Theodore had no intention of messing it up. For the first time since Caroline's death, he felt alive. Every morning he woke up excited for the day. Every evening he counted hours until he could see Rochelle again. Anna was happier too. Having Sophie as a friend, having Rochelle's warm presence, it filled something in her that had been empty since losing her mother. She called Rochelle by name but treated her with the respect and affection reserved for someone special. One evening, Theodore took Rochelle to dinner at a nice restaurant. Just the two of them, with the girls staying at Theodore's penthouse with a babysitter. Rochelle wore a bright blue dress Theodore had bought her. She looked stunning. Every head turned as they walked to their table. "Everyone's staring," Rochelle whispered. "Because you're beautiful. Or because I don't belong here. You belong wherever you want to be. And I want you here with me." Over dinner, Theodore asked, "What's your dream? If you could have anything, do anything, what would it be?" Rochelle thought seriously. "I'd want Sophie to go to college. A good one. I'd want her to never worry about money like I have. I'd want her to choose her career based on what she loves, not what pays the bills. That's all for Sophie. What about for you? Sophie is my dream. But what do you want? Just for yourself? Rochelle was quiet for a long time. I don't know. I've never let myself want things just for me. Start now. What would make you happy? This, Rochelle said softly. Being with someone who sees me, who values me, who makes me feel like I matter. You do matter. You matter so much. I know that now. Because of you. Theodore reached across the table and took her hand. I love you, Rochelle. I know it's fast. I know it's crazy. But I love you. Rochelle's eyes widened. Theodore. You don't have to say it back. I just needed you to know. I love you too, Rochelle said, her voice shaking. I've been trying not to. I've been scared. But I love you. They sat holding hands across the table, both of them smiling like fools, not caring who saw. The waiter brought dessert, but neither of them touched it. They were too busy looking at each other, too busy feeling the magnitude of what they just admitted. Later, walking back to the car, Rochelle said, What happens now? Now we keep doing what we're doing. Spending time together. Building something real. But eventually people will find out. Your business associates. Your friends. What will they think of you dating someone like me? I don't care what they think. But I do. I don't want to hurt your reputation. Theodore stopped walking and pulled Rochelle close. Listen to me. You could never hurt my reputation. If anything, being with you makes me better. Makes me worth something. Those people, their opinions, they don't matter. You matter. Sophie matters. Hannah matters. That's it. You make it sound so simple. It is simple. Love is simple. People make it complicated, but it doesn't have to be. Rochelle leaned against him. I hope you're right. I am. Trust me. And in that moment, standing on a city street in winter, holding the woman he loved, Theodore believed everything would be okay. He had no idea how hard things were about to become. February brought a cold snap that blanketed the city in snow. Theodore and Rochelle's relationship deepened. They saw each other almost every day, alternating between his penthouse and her apartment. The girls were inseparable, already calling each other sisters. Theodore found himself thinking about forever. About marriage. About officially blending their families. It felt right. It felt inevitable. But first he wanted to do something special. Valentine's Day was approaching, and Theodore wanted to show Rochelle how much she meant to him. What are you planning? Hannah asked one morning at breakfast. She'd gotten good at reading her father's thoughtful expressions. Something special for Rochelle. Like what? I'm not sure yet. What do you think she'd like? Hannah considered seriously. Sophie says her mama always wanted to see the ocean. But they've never been because it costs too much. The ocean. Of course. Theodore pulled out his phone and started making calls. By Valentine's Day, everything was arranged. Theodore picked up Rochelle and Sophie early in the morning. They drove out of the city heading east. Where are we going? Rochelle asked. You'll see. Sophie and Hannah giggled in the back seat in on the secret. After 2 hours the landscape changed. Buildings gave way to beach towns. And then there it was. The ocean. Sophie pressed her face to the window. Mama, look. Rochelle's eyes widened. Theodore, you didn't? You've always wanted to see it. Now you can. Theodore had rented a beach house for the weekend. Right on the water with huge windows overlooking the waves. The girls ran inside, squealing with excitement. Rochelle stood on the deck, staring at the water. Tears ran down her cheeks. This is too much, she whispered. It's not enough. It will never be enough to show you what you mean to me. She turned and wrapped her arms around him. How did you know? Hannah told me. And I wanted to give you this. This memory. This moment. They spent the weekend playing in the sand, walking on the beach, watching the sunset paint the sky in colors neither Rochelle nor Sophie had ever seen in person. The girls found shells and built sandcastles. At night, they roasted marshmallows in the fireplace and told stories. On the last evening after the girls were asleep, Theodore and Rochelle sat on the deck wrapped in blankets, listening to the waves. I want to marry you, Theodore said quietly. Rochelle went still. What? Not now. Not tomorrow. But soon. I want you to be my wife. I want Sophie to be my daughter. I want us to be a real family. Theodore. I know it's fast. I know there are complications. But I've never been more sure of anything. Rochelle was quiet for a long time. I want that too. But I'm scared. Why? Because I'm not part of your world. I don't know how to be a billionaire's wife. I don't know how to navigate that life. You don't have to navigate anything. You just have to be you. But what if I embarrass you? What if I say the wrong thing or wear the wrong dress or don't know the right people? Theodore took her face in his hands. You could never embarrass me. You're the best person I know. Strong, kind, brave. I'm lucky you're even considering this. What about Hannah? Does she want this? She suggested it first. She loves you. She loves Sophie. She wants you both in our lives permanently. Rochelle's tears fell freely now. I love her too. And I love you. So much it scares me. Then say yes. When I ask properly, say yes. When will that be? When the moment is right. But I wanted you to know what I'm thinking. What I'm planning. So you can think about it too. Rochelle kissed him deep and long, full of promise. I'll say yes. Whenever you ask, the answer is yes. They stayed up late, planning a future together. Talking about how they'd blend their families. Where they'd live. How they'd handle Theodore's business demands and Rochelle's desire to keep working. I don't want to stop caring for Mr. Harvey, Rochelle said. He needs me. Then don't stop. We'll work everything else around that. And I don't want Sophie to lose touch with Riverside. With our community. Those people are our family too. We won't lose touch. We'll stay involved. Maybe I can use my resources to help the whole neighborhood. Rochelle smiled. You're already doing that. The building repairs. The anonymous donations to the community center. I know that's you. How did you know? Because that's who you are. You see a need and you fill it. Just like I try to do, but you have more resources. We could do more together. We could change lives together. That vision of using wealth and compassion combined excited them both. They talked late into the night about possibilities. About making a real difference. Back in the city, life returned to normal but with a new undercurrent of excitement. Theodore and Rochelle were planning a future. The girls knew something big was coming and could barely contain their joy. In March, Theodore started introducing Rochelle to his world. Small steps. Dinner with his closest business associate and friend, Richard, and Richard's wife Amy. Amy loved Rochelle immediately. She's refreshing, Amy told Theodore privately. Real. Not like the pretentious people we usually socialize with. But not everyone was accepting. Theodore's business partner Gerald viewed Rochelle with suspicion from the start. She's very different from Caroline, Gerald said when Theodore brought Rochelle to a company dinner. That's not a bad thing, Theodore replied. No, but it's notable. Where did you say you met? She helped me when Hannah was lost. Convenient. Theodore's temper flared. What are you implying? Nothing. Just that it's all very sudden. And she comes from a very different background. Meaning she's poor? Meaning you should be careful. Make sure her intentions are pure. Theodore wanted to punch Gerald. But he kept his cool. Her intentions are pure. She's the most honest person I've ever met. If you say so. I just hope you're thinking clearly. Theodore walked away before he said something he'd regret. But Gerald's words planted a seed of doubt. Not about Rochelle, never about her. But about how their relationship would be perceived and judged. He talked to Rochelle about it that night. She wasn't surprised. People will always question me, she said. A poor single mother with a rich boyfriend. Of course they'll think I'm after your money. But you're not. I know that. You know that. But we can't control what others think. It makes me angry. Don't let it. Their opinions don't matter. What matters is us. Our family. Our love. Her calm strength steadied him. This woman had faced judgment and hardship her entire life. She knew how to rise above it. What would you do if people judged the person you love based on where they come from? Would you stand up for them no matter the cost? Share your thoughts in the comments, and subscribe to follow this journey of love overcoming every obstacle. Theodore decided then that he would protect Rochelle from his world's cruelty. He would stand between her and anyone who tried to diminish her. And if that meant losing business relationships or social connections, so be it. In April, spring arrived and with it a new sense of hope. Sophie and Hannah rode bikes in the park every weekend. Rochelle and Theodore took long walks, planning their future. Everything felt possible. Theodore bought a ring. Custom-made, with Rochelle's birthstone surrounded by diamonds. Not ostentatious but beautiful and meaningful. He carried it in his pocket for 2 weeks, waiting for the perfect moment. The moment came on a Saturday afternoon. They were at Riverside's community center, helping set up for a spring festival. The whole neighborhood had turned out. Kids ran around playing. Adults set up booths and decorations. Theodore watched Rochelle organizing volunteers, her smile bright, her energy infectious. She wore a bright green dress that made her skin glow. She was in her element, helping her community, making things better for everyone. This was who she was. Kind, generous, strong. And he wanted to spend the rest of his life with her. Theodore called Sophie and Hannah over. The girls grinned, knowing what was coming. "Want to help me with something important?" Theodore asked. "Yes," they said together. Theodore gave Hannah the ring box. "Hold this. And when I give you the signal, bring it to me." The girls nodded seriously. Theodore walked over to where Rochelle was hanging streamers. "Can I borrow you for a second?" Rochelle turned, saw his expression, and her eyes widened. "Theodore?" He took her hand and led her to the center of the room. People noticed and stopped what they were doing. A hush fell over the crowd. Theodore got down on one knee. Rochelle's hands flew to her mouth. "Oh my God. Rochelle Johnson," Theodore said, his voice clear and steady. "You saved my life the day you helped me find Hannah. Every day since you've shown me what love really means. You're strong when I'm weak. You're kind when I forget to be. You make me want to be better, do better, give more." Tears streamed down Rochelle's face. The room was completely silent. "I want to spend the rest of my life with you. I want to raise Sophie and Hannah together. I want to wake up next to you every morning and fall asleep holding you every night. Will you marry me?" Hannah brought the ring box forward. Theodore opened it, revealing the beautiful ring inside. Rochelle looked at him, at the ring, at their daughters standing hopefully nearby, at the community watching with warm smiles. "Yes," she said, her voice breaking. "Yes, I'll marry you." Theodore stood and slipped the ring on her finger. Then he kissed her as the community center erupted in cheers and applause. Sophie and Hannah jumped up and down, hugging each other. When Theodore and Rochelle finally pulled apart, both laughing and crying, Mr. Peterson approached with a huge smile. "Congratulations. This is wonderful news." "Thank you," Rochelle said, holding up her hand to show him the ring. The whole afternoon became a celebration. The spring festival turned into an impromptu engagement party. People brought food to share. Someone started playing music. Theodore danced with Rochelle, with Hannah, with Sophie, with half the neighborhood. This was happiness. This was community. This was everything he'd been missing in his isolated, wealthy life. As the sun set and the party wound down, Theodore held Rochelle close, watching their daughters play with other kids. "No regrets?" Theodore asked. "None. This is the happiest day of my life." "Mine too." "Well, second happiest. The happiest will be our wedding day." Rochelle laughed. "When should that be?" "Tomorrow?" "Theodore. Next week? We need time to plan." "I don't want to wait." "Neither do I. But I want Sophie and Hannah to be part of everything. I want to do this right." Theodore kissed her forehead. "Then we'll do it right. But soon." "Soon," Rochelle agreed. They set a date for June. A small wedding, family and close friends only. Nothing ostentatious. Just love and commitment and the start of their life together. The next 2 months flew by in a whirl of preparations. Rochelle and Theodore were inseparable, planning every detail together. The girls were flower girls, thrilled to be so involved. But as the wedding approached, complications began to surface. Not from Rochelle or Theodore, but from the outside world. From people who didn't understand or didn't approve. The real challenges were about to begin. As wedding plans progressed, Theodore's world and Rochelle's world began to collide in uncomfortable ways. Theodore introduced Rochelle to more of his business associates. Some were kind and welcoming. Others were cold, their judgment obvious in their polite but distant responses. At a charity gala in early May, Theodore watched as women in expensive gowns looked Rochelle up and down with thinly veiled disdain. Rochelle wore a bright purple dress Theodore had bought her, and she looked stunning. But she didn't fit their mold and they made sure she knew it. "Where did Theodore find you?" one woman asked with a fake smile. "In Riverside," Rochelle answered honestly. "I was helping him find his daughter." "How fortunate for you. From Riverside to this. Quite the upgrade." Theodore appeared at Rochelle's side, his face hard. "Rochelle makes anywhere she is better just by being there. Some people bring light wherever they go. Others just take up space." The woman's face flushed. She walked away without another word. "You didn't have to do that," Rochelle said quietly. "Yes, I did. I won't let anyone treat you badly." But Theodore couldn't be by Rochelle's side every moment. At the same gala, Gerald cornered him. "We need to talk about this engagement. There's nothing to discuss. I'm marrying Rochelle." "You're making a mistake. The board is concerned." "The board doesn't get a vote on my personal life." "Your personal life affects the company. Your reputation matters. And marrying someone from her background sends the wrong message." Theodore's anger flashed white-hot. The wrong message? That I value character over wealth? That I choose real love over social climbing? Yeah, that's terrible. You're being naive. She's going to take advantage of you. Rochelle has never asked me for anything. Every time I try to help her, she resists. She works 2 jobs because she's proud and independent. She's nothing like what you're implying. She's working you. That's what women like her do. Theodore stepped closer, his voice dropping to a dangerous level. Listen carefully. Rochelle is going to be my wife. If you can't respect that, you can find a new business partner. Gerald's eyes widened. You'd throw away our partnership for her? Without hesitation. She's worth more than any business deal. You're in deeper than I thought. I'm not in anything. I'm in love. There's a difference. Gerald walked away shaking his head. Theodore stood there, hands clenched, furious. How had he never noticed how shallow his business world was? How empty these people were? He found Rochelle on the balcony, getting air. She looked upset. What happened? Nothing. Just some women being unkind. What did they say? It doesn't matter. It matters to me. Rochelle sighed. They implied I'm a gold digger. That I trapped you. That I don't belong in your world. Theodore pulled her close. You're better than every person in that room. You have more heart, more strength, more genuine goodness than all of them combined. But they're not wrong about one thing. I don't belong here. This isn't my world. Then we'll make a new world. One where kindness matters more than money. Where real values trump social status. Rochelle rested her head on his chest. Is that possible? With you, anything is possible. They left the gala early. Theodore decided that night that he was done with that scene. If people couldn't accept Rochelle, they didn't deserve his time or attention. But there was one person whose opinion Theodore did care about. His late wife's mother, Patricia Morrison. Patricia had been distant since Caroline's death, grief making her cold. But she still saw Hannah regularly, and Theodore valued that connection for his daughter's sake. In mid-May, Patricia called and asked to meet. Theodore agreed, though something in her tone worried him. They met at a restaurant. Patricia arrived looking stern, her gray hair perfect, her expression set. I heard you're engaged, she said without preamble. Yes. To a wonderful woman named Rochelle. I've heard about her. From your social circles. Theodore braced himself. What have you heard? That she's a nobody from a poor neighborhood. That she has a child. That this relationship is inappropriate. With respect, those people don't know anything about Rochelle or our relationship. Don't they? Theodore, you're a wealthy man. Women target men like you. It's common. Rochelle isn't targeting anyone. She loves me. And I love her. Patricia's face hardened. What about Caroline? Have you forgotten her already? The words hit like a punch. Of course I haven't forgotten Caroline. I'll never forget her. But she's gone, Patricia. She's been gone for 3 years. She would want me to be happy. Would she want you with someone like this Rochelle person? Yes. Caroline valued kindness and strength. Rochelle has both in abundance. And what about Hannah? What about exposing my granddaughter to this woman's child? To that lifestyle? Theodore's patience snapped. Stop. Right now. Rochelle's daughter Sophie is a wonderful little girl. Hannah adores her. They're like sisters already. And there's nothing wrong with their lifestyle except that poverty exists, which isn't Rochelle's fault. Patricia stood abruptly. I see you've made up your mind. But hear this, Theodore. If you go through with this marriage, if you bring this woman into Hannah's life permanently, I will seek custody. I won't let my granddaughter be raised in such an unsuitable environment. Theodore stood too, his voice cold. You would take Hannah away from me? If necessary. You'd break her heart? After she's already lost her mother? I'd be protecting her. You'd be destroying her. And our relationship. Is that what you want? Patricia's face was stone. I want what's best for Hannah. And this isn't it. She walked out, leaving Theodore standing in the restaurant, shaking with fury and fear. Could Patricia really try for custody? Did she have grounds? Theodore immediately called his lawyer. The news wasn't good. Patricia had resources and connections. If she painted Rochelle as an unsuitable influence, a judge might listen. It was a long shot but not impossible. That evening, Theodore told Rochelle what had happened. She went pale. She can take Hannah? She can try. My lawyer says it's unlikely, but there's a risk. Then we should wait. Postpone the wedding. I won't be the reason you lose your daughter. No. We're not postponing anything. Patricia is wrong and eventually she'll see that. But what if she doesn't? What if she follows through? Theodore took Rochelle's hands. Then we'll fight. Together. And we'll win. Because we're a family now, and families don't break apart at the first sign of trouble. This is more than trouble. This is Hannah's entire future. Hannah wants you in her life. She told me so herself. She wants you as her mother. She wants Sophie as her sister. That's her choice, not Patricia's. Rochelle's eyes filled with tears. I never wanted to cause problems. You haven't caused anything. Patricia's grief is causing this. Her inability to move forward. But that's not your fault or mine. We're allowed to be happy. They held each other as the weight of Patricia's threat settled over them. Their joy was being tested. Their love was being challenged. But neither of them was willing to give up. Over the next week, more pressure came from different directions. Theodore's company stock dipped slightly after news of his engagement leaked to the business press. Headlines called Rochelle a mystery woman and questioned Theodore's judgment. Gerald used this as ammunition. See? The market is responding to your poor choices. The market fluctuates. It doesn't dictate my life. It should. We have shareholders to think about. The shareholders are fine. The company is strong. My personal life doesn't change that. But doubt crept in. Not about Rochelle. Never about her. But about whether Theodore was being selfish. Whether his happiness was worth the turmoil it was causing for others. Rochelle noticed his stress. One evening she confronted him gently. You're having doubts. Not about you. Never about you. Then about what? Theodore ran his hands through his hair. About whether I'm doing the right thing. People are getting hurt. Hannah might lose her grandmother. My business is suffering. Maybe everyone is right. Maybe we're moving too fast. Rochelle was quiet for a long moment. When she spoke, her voice was steady and sure. Do you love me? More than anything. Do you want to marry me? Yes. Does Hannah want us to be a family? She says it's all she wants. Then the only question is, are you going to let other people's fear and prejudice dictate your life? Or are you going to stand up for what you know is right? Theodore looked at this incredible woman. This strong, beautiful, wise person who'd entered his life and changed everything for the better. I'm going to stand up for what's right. Good. Because I'm not going anywhere. Not unless you tell me to. I love you. I love Hannah. And I believe we can build something beautiful together. But only if we're both committed. Only if we face these challenges as a team. We're a team, Theodore said firmly. Now and always. They kissed, sealing their commitment. Whatever came next, they would face it together. The wedding date remained set for June. No postponement. No backing down. Theodore and Rochelle were getting married and nothing would stop them. But the universe had one more test in store. 3 weeks before the wedding, everything fell apart at once. First, Mr. Harvey, the elderly man Rochelle cared for, passed away peacefully in his sleep. Rochelle was devastated. She'd grown to love him like family. His death left her without her daytime job and emotionally shattered. Theodore held her as she cried. He was such a good man. He told me stories about his wife, his kids, his whole life. He made me laugh every day. And now he's gone. I'm so sorry, love. I know you cared for him deeply. He cared for Sophie and me too. He left us something in his will. A small amount, but it was everything to him. He wanted Sophie to have it for college. Theodore's heart swelled with love for the old man he'd met only a few times. Mr. Harvey had seen Rochelle's worth and wanted to help her daughter's future. It was beautiful. But losing the job meant Rochelle's income was cut in half. Theodore immediately offered to help more, but Rochelle still had her pride. I can find another job. I don't need you to support me entirely. I'm going to be your husband in 3 weeks. Supporting each other is what we do. I know, but I need to contribute. I need to feel like I'm pulling my weight. You contribute by being you. By being an amazing mother. By loving me and Hannah. That's more than enough. Rochelle finally accepted his help, though Theodore could see it cost her some pride. He admired her independence even as he wished she'd let him take care of her completely. The second blow came from Patricia. She made good on her threat and filed for custody of Hannah. Legal papers arrived at Theodore's penthouse, cold and official. Theodore called his lawyer immediately. Can she do this? She filed the papers. Now we have to respond. We'll need to show the court that Hannah's current situation is stable and healthy. It is stable. She's happy. She has a loving home. But Patricia will argue that your engagement to Rochelle represents instability. That you're bringing strangers into Hannah's life. That Sophie's background is unsuitable. Theodore felt sick. This is insane. It's aggressive, yes. But we can fight it. We'll need character witnesses. Evidence of Hannah's well-being. Testimony about your parenting. Theodore told Rochelle that evening. She took the news hard. This is my fault. Patricia is right. I'm disrupting Hannah's life. You're enhancing Hannah's life. She's happier than she's been since Caroline died. But her grandmother doesn't see it that way. Her grandmother is letting grief and snobbery cloud her judgment. The court will see the truth. But even Theodore wasn't entirely sure. Courts could be unpredictable. And Patricia had resources and connections. Hannah, when she found out, was furious. At 8 years old, she marched into Theodore's office and declared, "Grandma, Patricia is wrong. I want you and Rochelle to get married. I want Sophie as my sister. Tell the judge that." "I will, sweetheart. We'll make sure everyone knows how you feel." The third blow came from an unexpected direction. Rochelle's apartment building, which had been so nicely renovated, was sold to a new owner. The new owner planned to convert it to luxury condos and gave all current residents 60 days to vacate. Rochelle held the eviction notice with shaking hands. "Where will we go? I can't afford anywhere nicer, and everything cheaper is in worse neighborhoods." "You'll move in with me," Theodore said immediately. "Before the wedding? Why not? We're getting married in 3 weeks anyway. And this solves the problem." "But what will people say? What will the judge say about Hannah's custody case?" Theodore hadn't thought of that. His lawyer confirmed it could be used against them. Living together before marriage, especially with children involved, might be viewed negatively by a conservative judge. "Then we'll get married now," Theodore said. "We'll have a quick civil ceremony. The big wedding can still happen in June, but legally we'll be married." Rochelle hesitated. "That's not what we planned. Plans change. What matters is that we're together. But I wanted Sophie and Hannah to have the ceremony. The special day. We'll still have that. This is just paperwork. The real wedding, the celebration, that's still happening exactly as planned." After some discussion, they decided on a compromise. Rochelle and Sophie would move into Theodore's penthouse. They wouldn't marry immediately, but Theodore's lawyer would frame it as necessary housing due to the eviction, which was true. And they'd push forward with the June wedding date. Moving day was bittersweet. Sophie was excited about the fancy new home but sad to leave Riverside. Rochelle cried as they packed up the small apartment where she'd raised her daughter alone for so many years. "This place held all our memories," Rochelle said, looking around the empty rooms. Sophie's first steps. Her first words. "Every birthday. Every Christmas. Our whole life is in these walls." Theodore put his arm around her. "Now you'll make new memories. Better ones. With more space and less worry. But I'll miss this. Miss the simplicity. We'll visit the neighborhood. We'll stay connected to your community. This isn't goodbye forever. It's just a new chapter." The community threw them a going-away party at the center. Everyone was happy for Rochelle but sad to see her go. Mr. Peterson hugged her tight. "You deserve this happiness. Don't you forget where you came from, but don't be ashamed to move forward either." "I could never forget. This place made me who I am. And who you are is wonderful. Now go be happy." At the penthouse, Sophie was overwhelmed. "This is all ours?" "This is our home now," Theodore confirmed. "Yours, mine, Hannah's, and your mom's." The girls ran through the rooms, claiming bedrooms and making plans. Rochelle stood in the main living area looking lost. "This doesn't feel real," she whispered. "It's real. We're really doing this. We're really becoming a family. I'm scared." "Me too. But we're scared together. That makes it easier." For a few days things seemed to settle. The girls adjusted to living together easily, like they'd been sisters forever. Rochelle found a new job working at the community center, coordinating volunteers. It paid less than her previous jobs combined, but Theodore insisted she not worry about money. This job would make her happy and that mattered more. But the custody case loomed over everything. The hearing was scheduled for 2 weeks before the wedding. Patricia's lawyers were building their case, painting Rochelle as an opportunist and Theodore as a man blinded by attraction. Theodore's lawyer prepared their defense. Character witnesses lined up. Mr. Peterson, Richard and Amy, Hannah's teachers, even some of Rochelle's former neighbors from Riverside. Everyone willing to testify to Rochelle's character and Hannah's happiness. But Gerald threw another wrench into everything. He called a board meeting and pushed for a vote of no confidence in Theodore's leadership. His personal choices are affecting the company negatively. Stock prices are down. Client confidence is shaky. We need stable leadership. Theodore stood in that boardroom facing people he'd worked with for years, and he saw their doubt clearly. My personal life has nothing to do with my business performance. The stock dip is temporary and market-related. Client concerns are being blown out of proportion. This is about Gerald's prejudice, not about company health. But the damage was done. Doubt had been planted. Theodore realized he might lose his company or his family. He couldn't fight both battles simultaneously. That night he sat with Rochelle and laid out the situation honestly. I might lose the company. Gerald has turned half the board against me. They think I'm distracted making poor choices. Are they right? Rochelle asked quietly. No. My work hasn't suffered. If anything, I'm more motivated now because I have you and the girls to work for. But perception matters. Yes. And the perception is that I'm throwing everything away for a relationship they don't approve of. Rochelle was silent for a long time. Maybe we should postpone the wedding. Let things settle. Prove to everyone that this isn't affecting your judgment. Absolutely not. That's exactly what they want. If I back down now, they win. And worse, I lose you. You wouldn't lose me. I'd wait. But why should you have to? Why should our happiness be held hostage by other people's fear and prejudice? Because sometimes the smart thing is to be strategic. Theodore shook his head firmly. No. I'm done being strategic. I'm done compromising. I love you. I want to marry you. In 3 weeks, that's exactly what I'm going to do. Everyone else can adjust or leave my life. I don't care anymore. Rochelle's eyes filled with tears. You'd really give up your company for me? I'd give up everything for you. The company, the money, all of it. You're what matters. But that's not practical. Love isn't practical. It's necessary. And I love you more than anything else in my life. They held each other, drawing strength from their connection. Whatever came next, they would face it united. The custody hearing arrived. Theodore, Rochelle, and their lawyers sat on one side of the courtroom. Patricia and her lawyers sat on the other. Hannah was not present, but her written statement and video testimony were ready to be presented. Patricia's lawyers went first, painting a picture of instability and poor judgment. They characterized Rochelle as a gold digger, Theodore as distracted and impulsive, and the situation as harmful to Hannah's well-being. Then Theodore's lawyers presented their case. Character witnesses spoke passionately about Rochelle's kindness and strength. Hannah's teachers testified about her improved grades and happier demeanor since Rochelle entered her life. Hannah's own testimony, recorded on video, was particularly powerful. I love my daddy and I love Rochelle, Hannah said to the camera, her 8-year-old face serious and earnest. Sophie is like my sister. We're happy together. Grandma Patricia is wrong. I don't want to leave my family. When the video finished, even Patricia looked shaken. The judge asked questions, considered the evidence, and finally spoke. I see no grounds for a custody change. Mr. Blackwell is providing a stable, loving home. Hannah is thriving. Ms. Johnson appears to be a positive influence. Petition denied. Theodore nearly collapsed with relief. Rochelle cried. Their lawyers congratulated them. Across the courtroom, Patricia sat stone-faced. Then something changed in her expression. She stood and approached them. May I speak with you both privately? Theodore tensed but agreed. They moved to a conference room. Patricia sat across from them, looking older and more tired than Theodore had ever seen her. I was wrong, Patricia said quietly. Watching Hannah's testimony, hearing what everyone said about both of you, I realized I was letting grief make me cruel. Theodore softened slightly. Patricia? No, let me finish. I've been angry since Caroline died. Angry at the world, angry at God, angry at you for moving forward when I couldn't. But Hannah is happy. I can see that. And you, Rochelle, you're nothing like what I assumed. Rochelle reached across the table. I'm not trying to replace Caroline. I could never replace her. But I love Hannah. And I love your son-in-law. I want to make them both happy. Patricia's eyes filled with tears. Caroline would have liked you. She valued kindness above all else. And you have that in abundance. The breakthrough felt like a weight lifting. Patricia wasn't fully on board yet, but she was open. That was enough for now. Leaving the courthouse, Theodore and Rochelle walked hand in hand, lighter than they'd been in weeks. We won, Rochelle whispered. We did. One battle down. How many more to go? However many it takes. But we'll win them all. Together. The wedding was now 10 days away. And despite everything, they were going to make it happen. With the custody battle won, Theodore felt like they'd climbed the biggest mountain. But there were still hills to cross. Gerald's challenge at the company remained. The board meeting was scheduled for the week before the wedding. Theodore prepared his defense, gathering evidence of the company's continued success, client satisfaction reports, and financial projections showing strong growth. But he also prepared for the possibility of losing. He met with his lawyer about options if the board voted him out. "I could start over," Theodore said. "Build something new. I've done it before." "With what resources?" "If the board forces you out, they'll tie up your shares, limit your access to capital. Then I'll start smaller. Go back to basics." His lawyer looked at him with respect. "You're really willing to give it all up? For Rochelle and the girls?" "Without question." The lawyer smiled. "That's either very stupid or very brave. Probably both." But Theodore didn't have to find out which. 2 days before the board meeting, Richard, Theodore's friend and fellow board member, called with news. Gerald overplayed his hand. "He's been making deals behind the board's back, trying to position himself to take over if you're voted out. Some of the other members found out and they're furious." "So what does that mean?" "It means Gerald is the one losing his position, not you. The board is calling for his removal, not yours." Theodore felt relief and something like pity. Gerald did this to himself. "Yes. But it's over. Your position is secure. Focus on your wedding." When Theodore told Rochelle, she cried happy tears. "It's really happening. We're really going to get our happy ending. We are. Nothing can stop us now." But fate had one more test. 4 days before the wedding, Rochelle got a call. Her building's new owner had discovered that the renovations Theodore had paid for were done without proper permits. The city was investigating, and if violations were found, Rochelle could be implicated for profiting from illegal work. "That's insane," Theodore said when she told him. "I hired licensed contractors. Everything was by the book." "Apparently not. Or maybe they're trying to find a way to penalize us. I don't know. But if this turns into a legal issue, it could delay the wedding." Theodore called his lawyers immediately. They dug into the permits, the contractor history, everything. What they found was concerning. The original landlord had filed the permits improperly, likely to save money. When Theodore paid for the work, he trusted the landlord to handle the bureaucracy correctly. That trust had been misplaced. "Can we fix this?" Theodore asked. "We can, but it will take time. Weeks, maybe months, to work through the city's processes." "We don't have months. The wedding is in 4 days." His lawyer hesitated. "The city might ask you to pay fines. Possibly substantial ones. And they might want testimony from Rochelle about her knowledge of the work." Rochelle, hearing this, went pale. "They think I knew it was illegal? They might try to establish that, yes, as a resident who benefited. But I didn't know anything. Theodore just told me the work was being done. We'll establish that. But it could get messy." Theodore made a decision. "I'll take full responsibility. I'll pay whatever fines they want. I'll testify that Rochelle had no knowledge of any permit issues. This gets resolved before the wedding. Theodore, you could be looking at hundreds of thousands in fines." "I don't care. Make it happen." His lawyer worked miracles over the next 2 days. Theodore paid the fines, signed statements taking complete responsibility, and used every connection he had at City Hall to fast-track the resolution. By the day before the wedding, the issue was officially closed. Rochelle was cleared of any wrongdoing, the building was properly permitted, and it was over. Rochelle cried when she heard. "You didn't have to do that. You didn't have to take all the blame. It was my mistake. I should have verified everything. And besides, I'd do anything to make sure our wedding happens on schedule. Thank you. For everything. For fighting for us." Theodore kissed her softly. "Tomorrow you become my wife. Nothing could have stopped that. Not Gerald, not Patricia, not the city. Nothing." The wedding day arrived clear and sunny. They'd chosen a small venue, an outdoor garden that Rochelle loved. Only close friends and family attended. About 50 people total. Sophie and Hannah were flower girls, wearing matching bright pink dresses and huge smiles. They walked down the aisle scattering petals and giggling. Then came Rochelle. She wore a simple but elegant dress in bright red, her choice because she'd always dreamed of a wedding that wasn't traditional. She looked absolutely stunning. Her hair was styled elegantly, her makeup perfect but natural. She carried a bouquet of wildflowers from Riverside, brought by her neighbors as a gift. Theodore stood at the altar and cried the moment he saw her. This beautiful, strong, incredible woman was about to become his wife. After everything they'd been through, all the obstacles and challenges, they'd made it here. Rochelle reached him and took his hands. They faced each other, smiling through tears. The ceremony was simple and heartfelt. They exchanged traditional vows, each adding personal promises. Theodore promised to always see Rochelle's worth, to honor her strength, to be the partner she deserved. Rochelle promised to love him in success and failure, to build a family with him, to face every challenge together. When the officiant said, "You may kiss the bride," Theodore pulled Rochelle close and kissed her with everything he felt. Love, gratitude, joy, relief. All of it poured into that kiss. Their guests cheered. Sophie and Hannah hugged each other. Even Patricia, who attended after her apology, wiped tears from her eyes. The reception was joyful and relaxed. Good food, better company, dancing and laughter. Theodore danced with his new wife, with his daughter, with Sophie. Rochelle danced with Mr. Peterson and Richard and everyone who'd supported them. During a quiet moment, Theodore and Rochelle stood together watching their guests celebrate. "We did it," Rochelle whispered. "We're really married. We really are. How does it feel?" "Like coming home. Like everything in my life led to this moment with you." "I feel the same way. Finding you was the best thing that ever happened to me." "Finding each other," Rochelle corrected. "We saved each other." Theodore pulled her close. "Now we get to spend the rest of our lives together. Building something beautiful. A family. A life. A love story." They kissed again as the sun set over the garden, casting golden light over their celebration. Their friends and family cheered. Sophie and Hannah danced together. Everything was perfect. Later, as they prepared to leave for their honeymoon, Patricia approached them one last time. "I want to apologize again," she said, "for trying to stop this. You two are clearly meant to be together." "Thank you, Patricia," Rochelle said warmly. "That means a lot. And Hannah is lucky to have you. I see that now. Would you be willing to let me be part of your life? As a grandmother to both girls?" Rochelle didn't hesitate. "Of course. Sophie would love that. And Hannah needs her grandmother." Patricia hugged Rochelle and years of tension melted away. Forgiveness and new beginnings all around. Theodore and Rochelle left their wedding hand in hand, heading toward their honeymoon and their future. Behind them, their daughters played with their friends. Ahead of them, a lifetime of love and happiness awaited. The challenges had been real and difficult. But they'd faced them together, with kindness and hope leading the way. And in the end, love had won. The honeymoon was perfect. 2 weeks in a beach house, just the four of them building sandcastles and memories. When they returned home, life settled into a new normal. Theodore, Rochelle, Hannah, and Sophie as one family. Summer turned to fall. The girls started school together at a nice private school where Theodore enrolled Sophie on scholarship to avoid making Rochelle uncomfortable. They made friends, joined clubs, and thrived. Rochelle continued working at the community center, finding fulfillment in helping others. Theodore supported her work, often joining her for volunteer events. Together, they started a foundation to help low-income families in Riverside, providing resources and opportunities. Patricia became a real grandmother to both girls, taking them for weekends and holidays. Her relationship with Rochelle grew warm and genuine. Grief had softened into acceptance and then into love for the new family her son-in-law had built. As Christmas approached again, almost a year after Theodore had first met Rochelle, they planned a big celebration. Both families, all their friends, a party at the penthouse to mark their first holiday season as a married couple. But a week before Christmas, tension appeared unexpectedly. Theodore came home late from a business meeting. He'd been working long hours on a new project, trying to expand the company into new markets. Rochelle had been understanding, but he'd missed several dinners with the family. "We need to talk," Rochelle said when he walked in. Theodore's heart sank. Those words never preceded good news. "What's wrong? You're never here anymore. You've missed 4 family dinners this week. The girls ask where you are every night." "I'm working. Building our future. We already have a future. What we need is your presence." Theodore felt defensive. "I'm providing for us. Making sure we're secure." "We're secure. You've made sure of that. But money isn't what the girls need. They need their father. And I need my husband. I'm doing my best." "Are you?" "Because from where I'm standing, it looks like you're hiding in work instead of dealing with family life." The accusation stung. "That's not fair." "Isn't it?" "Theodore, we've been married 6 months. We should still be in the honeymoon phase. But instead, you're working 14-hour days and barely seeing us." Theodore sat down heavily. "You're right. I have been working too much." "Why?" "I don't know. Maybe because I'm scared." "Of what?" Theodore struggled to articulate the fear he'd been hiding even from himself. "Of not being enough. Of failing you and the girls. Of losing everything we've built." Rochelle sat next to him, her anger melting into compassion. You could never fail us. You're already more than enough. But what if I'm not? What if something happens and I can't provide? Then we'll figure it out together. That's what marriage means. But I can't do this alone. I can't raise the girls by myself while you work yourself to death. Theodore pulled her close. I'm sorry. You're absolutely right. I'll do better. I'll be here more. I don't want promises. I want action. Starting with this Christmas party. I need you present, not distracted. Can you do that? Yes. I'll take the whole week off. No work, no phone calls. Just family. Rochelle kissed him. Thank you. That's all I'm asking. Just be here with us. Theodore kept his promise. He took the week off, much to his staff's surprise. He spent the days decorating, baking cookies with the girls, and preparing for the party. It felt good to be fully present, not thinking about work constantly. Christmas Eve arrived. Their penthouse was decorated beautifully with 2 trees. One fancy and elegant, one decorated with handmade ornaments the girls had created. A blend of both their worlds. Guests started arriving. Richard and Amy, Mr. Peterson and other friends from Riverside, Patricia, some of Theodore's business colleagues who'd proven themselves genuinely kind, and neighbors from the penthouse building who'd become friends. The party was in full swing when unexpected guests arrived. Gerald. Theodore hadn't invited him. After the board situation, they'd had minimal contact. But here he was, standing in the doorway with an envelope in his hand. Gerald, Theodore said, surprised. I didn't expect you. I know. I came to apologize. And to give you this. He handed Theodore the envelope. Inside were papers transferring Gerald's shares in the company to Theodore at well below market value. What is this? Theodore asked. My apology. I was wrong about everything. About Rochelle, about your judgment, about trying to remove you. You built that company. It's yours. I'm stepping away. Theodore was stunned. Gerald, you don't have to do this. Yes, I do. I let prejudice and jealousy cloud my thinking. I almost destroyed a good thing. This is me making amends. Gerald looked past Theodore to where Rochelle was talking with guests, laughing, making everyone feel welcome. She's exactly what you said. Kind, strong, real. You were right about her. I was wrong. Thank you for saying that. Can you forgive me? Theodore didn't hesitate. Yes. But you're not leaving the company. Keep your shares. We'll move forward as real partners this time, not adversaries. Gerald's eyes got bright. You do that after everything? Everyone deserves a second chance. Stay. Help me build something good. They shook hands, then Gerald surprised Theodore by hugging him. Thank you. Merry Christmas. Merry Christmas. As Gerald joined the party, Theodore found Rochelle. Did you see that? I did. You were kind to him. Kindness works. You taught me that. The party continued, full of joy and music and laughter. Sophie and Hannah showed everyone the new bikes Theodore and Rochelle had gotten them, upgraded versions with better features. Patricia played piano while people sang carols. Mr. Peterson told stories that had everyone crying with laughter. Later in the evening, as things were winding down, Theodore gathered everyone's attention. I want to say something, he announced. The room quieted. A year ago I was lost. Literally and figuratively. I'd lost my daughter in a crowd and I'd lost my way in life. Then I met Rochelle. He found her in the crowd, held out his hand. She came to stand beside him. This woman saved me. Not just by helping me find Hannah, though I'll always be grateful for that. She saved me by showing me what really matters. Kindness. Community. Love. She took a broken man and helped him heal. She took a lonely girl and gave her a sister. She turned a house into a home. Theodore's voice got thick with emotion. I'm standing here tonight surrounded by people I love, in a home filled with laughter, with a family that brings me joy every single day. And it's all because of Rochelle. Because she had the courage to help a stranger. Because she had the grace to accept my help in return. Because she had the love to build something beautiful with me. He turned to face Rochelle directly. Thank you. For everything. For choosing me. For loving my daughter. For making every day better. You're the best thing that ever happened to me. Rochelle was crying. You're the best thing that happened to me too. They kissed while their guests applauded. Sophie and Hannah ran over to hug them both. The 4 of them stood together, a family united by love and choice. The party ended late. After everyone left and the girls were asleep, Theodore and Rochelle stood by the windows looking out at the city. This time last year, I was in Riverside counting coins, Rochelle said softly. And I was lost and afraid. Look at us now. Look at us now, Theodore agreed. They stood in comfortable silence, holding each other, grateful for the journey that had brought them together. The challenges they'd faced had made them stronger. The opposition they'd overcome had proved their love was real. Christmas morning brought more joy. The girls woke up early, excited about their presents. Theodore and Rochelle watched them tear into packages, their laughter filling the penthouse. Later they all went to Riverside. Rochelle wanted to spend part of Christmas with her old community. They brought gifts for families in need, donated to the community center, and joined the neighborhood celebration. Theodore watched Rochelle move through her old neighborhood, hugging people, spreading joy, making sure everyone felt valued. This was who she was. This was what she did. She made the world better just by being in it. "Your wife is special," Mr. Peterson said, appearing beside Theodore. "I know. I'm lucky. She's lucky too. You see her worth. Not everyone would." "How could anyone not see it?" "Because they're looking at the wrong things. Money, status, background. You looked at her heart. That's why this works." Theodore nodded. It was true. He'd fallen in love with Rochelle's heart first. Everything else was just details. That evening, back at the penthouse, the four of them had a quiet dinner together. Just family. No guests, no party. Just them. "This has been the best Christmas ever," Hannah declared. "Even better than last year?" Rochelle asked, smiling. "Last year was when we became a family. This year is when we got to be a family. Both are perfect." Sophie nodded enthusiastically. "I love being sisters with you, Hannah." "Me too. Best sisters forever." Theodore looked at Rochelle across the table. She smiled at him, that beautiful smile that had first caught his attention a year ago. A year of challenges, growth, love, and triumph. "Thank you," Theodore mouthed silently. "Thank you," Rochelle mouthed back. They'd given each other the greatest gift of all, a second chance at happiness. A family built on love and choice. A life full of meaning and purpose. As the night ended and they tucked the girls into bed, Theodore felt complete peace. This was what mattered. This was success. Not money or business achievements, but love and family and kindness. He'd started this journey lost and alone. He'd end this year found and surrounded by love. And it was all because one woman had chosen kindness over convenience, generosity over selfishness, love over fear. Rochelle had saved him in every way a person could be saved. And he'd spend the rest of his life trying to deserve her. Spring arrived again, bringing warmth and renewal. Theodore and Rochelle's life continued to blend beautifully. The challenges of their first year together had forged them into a strong unit, capable of facing anything. In March, Rochelle discovered she was pregnant. The news filled them with joy and a little fear. "Are you ready for this?" Rochelle asked Theodore, her hand on her still flat stomach. "A baby? Our baby?" "Absolutely. It's going to be chaos. 2 girls and a newborn. Perfect chaos. The best kind." Hannah and Sophie were thrilled at the idea of a little brother or sister. They immediately started planning how they'd help take care of the baby. The pregnancy brought Theodore and Rochelle even closer. Theodore was attentive and involved, attending every doctor's appointment, reading parenting books and preparing the nursery with care. In June, on their first wedding anniversary, they renewed their vows in a small ceremony at the Riverside Community Center. This time, surrounded by the community that had supported them, they promised again to love, honor, and cherish each other. Patricia attended, fully embraced into the family now. She'd grown close to Sophie, treating her exactly like she treated Hannah. The bitterness that had driven her opposition was gone, replaced by genuine love for the blended family. Gerald had also become a true friend. He and Theodore rebuilt their business relationship on a foundation of mutual respect and shared values. The company thrived under their renewed partnership. In October, Rochelle gave birth to a healthy baby boy. They named him Marcus William Blackwell, combining names that honored both their families. Theodore held his son in the hospital room, tears streaming down his face. "He's perfect." "He is," Rochelle agreed, exhausted but radiant. "Our son." Hannah and Sophie tiptoed into the room, eyes wide with wonder. "Can we see him?" Hannah whispered. "Of course," Theodore said. "Come meet your brother." The girls approached carefully. Theodore let each of them hold the baby, supervised closely. Their faces glowed with love and pride. "We're really sisters now," Sophie said. "Same baby brother and everything." "We've always been really sisters," Hannah corrected. "This just makes it more official." Watching his family gather around his newborn son, Theodore felt overwhelming gratitude. 2 years ago he'd been empty and lost. Now he had a wife he adored, 3 children he loved fiercely, and a life full of meaning. The first few months with a newborn were chaotic as predicted. Sleepless nights, endless feedings, constant diaper changes. But they managed it together, all four of them. The girls helped when they could. Rochelle was a natural mother to three. Theodore discovered reserves of patience he didn't know he had. Patricia was an involved grandmother, taking the older girls for weekends to give Theodore and Rochelle breaks. The community center threw them a baby shower, celebrating Marcus's arrival. The Riverside neighborhood claimed him as one of their own. In December, as Christmas approached again, Theodore reflected on the year. They'd added a son to their family. Rochelle's foundation was helping dozens of families climb out of poverty. His company had its most successful year ever under his and Gerald's restored partnership. Hannah and Sophie were thriving in school. Life was good. On Christmas Eve they hosted another party. Marcus, now 2 months old, slept peacefully in his bassinet while chaos swirled around him. The penthouse was full of people from both sides of their blended world, all mixing comfortably now. Theodore stood by the window, holding a glass of sparkling cider, watching his wife work the room. Rochelle moved with confidence now, comfortable in this world that had once intimidated her. She was herself, unapologetically, and people loved her for it. Sophie and Hannah entertained guests by showing off their improved bike riding skills on video from the fall. Patricia and Mr. Peterson sat together, talking like old friends. Gerald's wife was deep in conversation with Amy about a charity project. This was family. Not defined by blood or wealth or background, but by choice and love and shared commitment. Rochelle appeared at Theodore's side, slipping her arm around his waist. "What are you thinking about?" "How lucky I am. How improbable this all is. 2 years ago, if someone had told me I'd be standing here with you, with our son, with all these people I love, I wouldn't have believed them. Life is surprising. The best surprises. Do you have any regrets?" "Not a single one. Do you?" Rochelle looked around the room at their daughters laughing together, at their sleeping son, at the community they'd built. "No. This is everything I never let myself dream about. You gave me permission to hope. To want more. To believe I deserved good things. You deserve everything good. So do you. And look, we gave it to each other." As midnight approached, Theodore gathered everyone for a toast. He raised his glass. 2 years ago tonight, I met the woman who changed my life. Rochelle showed me that real wealth isn't measured in money, but in the love we give and receive. She taught me that kindness matters more than success. That family is built, not just born into. That second chances are possible if we're brave enough to take them. He looked at his wife, his eyes bright with emotion. "Thank you for taking a chance on a lost billionaire. Thank you for letting me into your life, your heart, your family. Thank you for Sophie, who I love like my own daughter. Thank you for our son. Thank you for making every day an adventure. I love you more than I can express." Rochelle kissed him softly. "I love you too. Always." The room erupted in cheers and applause. Glasses clinked. The new year approached, full of promise. As the party wound down and guests departed, Theodore and Rochelle tucked in their daughters and checked on their sleeping son. Then they stood together in the quiet penthouse, holding each other. "What do you think next year will bring?" Rochelle asked. "Whatever it brings, we'll face it together. More challenges probably. More joy definitely. More love. Always more love." They kissed, sealing another year of their life together. Behind them lay trials overcome, obstacles conquered, love proven. Ahead lay more of the same, undoubtedly, but also more happiness, more growth, more family. Theodore had started his journey lost and alone, a wealthy man who'd forgotten what truly mattered. He'd met Rochelle in his darkest moment, and she'd led him back to the light. Not with money or status, but with simple kindness and genuine love. Now they had built something beautiful together. A family that transcended boundaries of wealth and background. A love that had weathered every storm. A life full of meaning and purpose. In the end, that was the real fortune. Not the money in the bank or the size of the house or the success of the business. The real fortune was love. Family. Community. Kindness. And Theodore Blackwell, who'd once had billions but felt empty, now had everything that truly mattered. He had Rochelle. He had his children. He had a life worth living. He had found his way home.